Good morning. Oh, it's this side. Just figuring my little setup out. How is everyone doing? Saturday morning. Oh, I know one thing I've forgotten. Okay. How's everyone doing? In the UK, it is 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Don't know how many people we're going to get today, but we'll figure it out. We're going to do a little sun salutation this morning. So every day we build a little bit more of a yoga practice up. So introducing more poses and more of a flow to things as we get a little bit more comfortable with what it is that we're doing and moving with the breath and kind of feeling into it. So today we're going to do some sun salutation A. And sun salutations, they're used a lot in yoga studios as like a warm-up. And it's a series of flowing movements, and it's kind of like a mirror. So you sort of move all the way into it, you come into kind of this middle pose, which tends to be in sun salutation A. We lower onto the belly and we move into either kind of a cobra pose or a sphinx pose or something like that. And then we basically repeat what we did to get into it to get all the way back out. So it kind of mirrors with that in the middle. And hopefully you'll see that in a second. But yeah, they use it as kind of a warm-up in yoga classes. There are 3 series of sun salutation, A, B, and C. You tend to see A and B quite a lot, but not so much C. But yeah, I use A and B. B is a bit more challenging. We introduce kind of some standing poses in there. But I mean, it literally is tradition. Like, it comes from the very roots of yoga originally, when it was kind of used in Hindu worship, right at the very beginning of kind of the conception of yoga, I suppose. And they would quite literally salute the sun. So you would practice yoga in the morning, and then you would move into your practice. So kind of that breath work and that meditation, and then you might do some gentle movement, and they would begin by saluting the sun in this way. Just want to check that I can see these. I've just come across your live. Have I missed much? Nope, you haven't. We're just about to get started. Great timing. So they tend to do those sun salutations at the beginning, which is why we do them at the beginning of our practice as just a nice warm-up kind of thing. It gets the body nice and warm for if we were then to move into different poses. So we're going to begin this morning, as we quite often do, in a comfortable seat. So just finding something that feels good for you. You can begin lying down, and yeah, any seat is welcome. So whatever feels good for you, and it's just a nice pose that you can find some stillness and just find a bit of calm this morning. So just come into that seat that works for you. Find somewhere to place your hands, maybe in your lap or on the knees or down by your sides. And if it feels okay for you to do so, just close down the eyes. And just notice. Just notice what you can hear around you. Notice how you feel this morning. Check in with yourself. How are you doing? Or this evening, obviously, depending on where you are in the world. And then I just want you to notice your breath. So not changing anything at all, but just observing. Do you breathe into the belly, or is it in the chest? Do you breathe through your nose or your mouth? And then just to prepare for some gentle movement, we're just going to begin, if it feels comfortable for you, just to deepen the breath. Just lengthen your inhales and exhales. And in yoga, we often tend to breathe through our nose. It has loads of health benefits, and I'll go into some of those actually one of these mornings when we practice some breath work. But there's absolutely no pressure to breathe through your nose if that doesn't feel comfortable for you. And then keeping a hold of that deeper breath. If the eyes are closed, just begin to blink them open. And we're going to come to all fours first this morning. So finding that tabletop position, you're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hip points. We're going to take some nice gentle cat-cow just to wake the body up. Just playing through the fingers, finding those spider hands so you can feel the ground beneath you with every fingertip. As you inhale, we're going to drop the belly down. We're going to look up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to reverse the motion with an exhale. So really pressing through the mat, arching through the back, maybe bringing the chin to the chest. And then inhaling, dropping the belly, gazing up. Waking up nice and gently through the spine. Moving in line with your breath. Really nice, everybody. And then we're going to come to neutral spine here. And we're going to make our way to the top of the mat. So we can do that by taking downward facing dog, and I will talk you through that in a second if you'd like to. Or as we did the other day with low lunge, you can kind of come up onto the knees and you can step and kind of press onto that leg and come up to stand. Just finding ways that work best for you and kind of trusting yourself that it doesn't have to look like my practice, that it can look however it needs to look to feel good for you. So if you're going to find downward facing dog, we're going to splay through the fingers, tuck those back toes if they're not already, and then we're going to press through the hands and press. As we press through the toes, we're going to send the heels down towards the mat. Hover the knees off the mat, send the hips up high towards the ceiling. Press those heels down towards the mat, maybe gazing in between the toes. And then taking nice generous bends in the knees, we're going to walk our way to the top of the mat. When you're here, just let everything grow really heavy. Give yourself a nice generous bend in the knees. It might be the first time we've moved yet today. So bend through those knees, let the hands drop down to the mat. Relax through the neck, through the shoulders. And then tucking the chin, we're going to roll up really slowly, imagining stacking vertebrae on top of vertebrae. And we're going to lift the chin and the head last as we come to stand at the top of the mat. Just taking any nice movement here, some nice shoulder circles maybe, and then the hands can come out alongside you, palms facing forwards as we find ourselves in mountain pose. This is also called Tadasana in Sanskrit, which is the language that we often use in yoga, the traditional language of yoga. And we'll move into our sun salutation. So as you inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. You can look up towards the hands if that feels comfortable. And then as you exhale, we're going to bend through the knees, come all the way down to forward fold. Really nice and generous bend in the knees, everyone. As you inhale, come up halfway. So think about a nice flat back here. If you gaze down at the ground, can you balance a book or something on your back? Tuck the elbows in towards the body and the hands can be on the thighs, the knees, the shins. And then as you exhale, bring the hands all the way back down to the mat, bending through those knees nicely. You can find a plank here if you want something a bit more energetic this morning, or you can step one leg back, followed by the other for that tabletop position. And then all we're going to do is bend through the elbows and come to lower down onto the mat. We're going to find low cobra this morning. So to do so, we're going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders, bring them tight in towards the body. And all we're going to do is on an inhale, lift up slightly off the mat, pressing into your hands, pressing into the tops of the feet. And you know if you're in the right position for you, because if you bring the hands off the mat, you shouldn't move. If you drop down, you might be pressing yourself up a little bit too high for a low cobra. Allowing yourself to come back down onto the mat, moving through either downward facing dog, or if you prefer, you can take a child's pose. So just sending the hips back towards the feet, arms out in front of you for that nice shoulder stretch here. And then just as we did at the beginning, we're going to make our way to the top of the mat. So if you're in that downward facing dog, just bending through the knees, taking those small steps until you reach the top of the mat. If you're in child's pose like me, just coming onto the knees and then maybe stepping up to the top of the mat. Really nice, everyone. Inhale, we're going to find a halfway lift, that nice flat back position. As you exhale, send everything back down to forward fold. This time as you inhale, send everything up, coming up to stand, arms come overhead, gazing up towards the hands. Bring the palms together as you exhale, bring them through the center, all the way through that center space by the heart. And then finally down by your sides, palms face forwards, finding Tadasana, that mountain pose. We're going to bend through the knees. That's nice. Lovely hair in my mouth. We're going to bend through the knees and we're going to come to sit back down on the mat the same way as we came in. I'm just going to twist on the mat so that you can see me a bit better. And to end, we're just going to find some nice gentle twists, just to even out that feeling in the body and the spine. So we're going to inhale, send the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, let's bring that right hand down to the mat. It can come out beside you or behind you. And that left hand is going to come on top of the right knee. Inhale, think nice and long through the spine. Sit up as tall as you can, keeping the chin nice and parallel to the ground. We don't need to send the nose up high. And then as you exhale, just twist yourself around to the right. And there's no need to use your hands to kind of really crank yourself and pull yourself around into it. Same as we did in low cobra, just finding where your body naturally twists to. And as we did there, you can test that. You can take your hands off and you should find your natural twist. As you inhale, let's come back up through center, send the arms up overhead. Sit really nice and tall, imagining being pulled up through the crown of your head like a puppet on a string. And we'll send it to the other side. So as you exhale, that right hand comes on top of left knee. Left hand can either come out to the side or maybe behind you. Inhaling nice and tall through the spine. And then as you exhale, just finding that gentle twist towards the left. Maybe just noticing, does it feel any different on this side? Do you notice you twist a bit further or maybe not as far? Maybe giving it a little test, taking the hands off. Really nice, everyone. Inhale back up through center. Let's send the arms up overhead one last time. Maybe gazing up towards the hands. And as you exhale, bringing the palms together through that heart center and maybe back down into the lap. I'm going to finish today in more of a seated reflection. But if you would prefer to find Shavasana for your final resting pose, lying down on the mat, allowing everything to grow really heavy, absolutely give yourself permission to find that. If you're joining me in a seated position, maybe just closing down the eyes, the same way as we came in. Allowing your breath just to return back to its natural rhythm. Just allowing that deep breath to go. And your body to just return to what it normally does. Just observing how you feel after those few minutes of movement. Acknowledging, showing up for yourself, prioritizing you. And maybe thanking yourself in your own little way. And I will leave you there. Thank you so much for practicing with me this morning, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll be back tomorrow.